With commuting on motorcycles, there are four things you need to worry about really. One is how you're going to get there. Two, where you're going to park. Three, how you're going to store everything. And four, where you're going to put all your kit while you're at work. This also works for college as they use the same techniques interchangeably. Now, for how you're going to get there, you need to make sure you've memorized the route beforehand. Anyone who's been riding a while will tell you that it's not really practical to have any sort of GPS while you're riding. You can get mounts for phones and sat navs, but it doesn't really work out. So either look up the map on Google or something, or just do what I do and do the route one time beforehand. That way you know where you're going. Number two, when you want to store everything, now this becomes a lot easier if you're riding a scooter or a bike with a large amount of storage space, like a helmet slot. Now, what you need to store depends on what you need for work or college. Now, generally with work I need practically nothing. The only thing I need to store is the chain for my bike, which I'll move on to in parking. If you're on a scooter, you'll probably get away with just putting your chain underneath your seat and then taking it out obviously when you park. But otherwise, you're probably going to need a backpack. Now, I'd recommend getting a backpack that has adjustable straps, because this will make it a lot easier to change the strap length from slightly larger loops while you're wearing all your thick gear, but you'll want to tighten it up to smaller loops when you get off and start walking around in work and college without your gear on. So it's good to have loops that can adjust for this purpose. Now when it comes to parking, it's pretty simple really. Most places will have set aside parking spots for motorcycles. Now my college does, and a few workplaces do. Now if they don't, you have two options. Number one, you can park in a car space. This is pretty simple, just park diagonally in the space at the rear to try and give other bikes room to come in. Most people won't mind as long as you only take up one space and you're not taking up any more space than a car normally would. Alternatively, you can just park in areas that you've asked about. For example, the place I'm working at the moment doesn't have any staff parking, but I asked, is there anywhere I can park my motorcycle? And I was pointed in the direction of a small area that was out of sight that I could park my motorcycle. Because motorbikes are so small, it's easy for us to get away with cheeky parking. Most places, especially work and college, won't really mind, and even in my college, the motorcycle parking is free, whereas the car parking is not. Now don't be tempted to wear less kit while you're commuting. I have done this in the past. At one point I switched motorcycle trousers for jeans, but after having an accident I decided it was a good idea to be wearing motorcycle trousers all the time. In this accident I was luckily wearing motorcycle trousers, and the damage done to them, although it didn't get through, convinced me jeans would not be sufficient. So, what you want to do is, for a start, take all the loose parts when you arrive at work or college. Take all the loose parts of your kit, for example gloves, neck warmer, high-vis jackets, and put them inside your helmet. If you're riding a scooter, then simply put your helmet with all the stuff in it underneath the seat. If not, then put it with the rest of your gear. I'd recommend, if at all possible at your work or college, to get a locker. Now at college I have a locker, and simply I just put the helmet along with my jacket and trousers inside the locker, and then I don't have to worry about it. Now at work I don't have a locker, so it's a little bit more tricky, but not very difficult in the long run. All you need to do is I put my trousers and jacket inside a wardrobe that's in the staff area, and then I put my helmet on the floor. The reason I put my helmet on the floor is to make sure that no one knocks it off while I'm away and essentially renders the helmet useless. Now most people won't mind. I've never had anyone complain about my motorcycle gear. In fact, wearing full motorcycle gear can be a way of showing responsibility to an employer. You're not just turning up with just a helmet, you're turning up in full gear, and people won't mind that you have to put your gear somewhere. As long as you don't just leave everything in a giant pile, and you make sure it's reasonably tidy and hang up what you can, people won't mind. None of my employers have ever minded. So that's my basic guide for what to do when you're commuting. Now, commuting is a great thing to do on a motorcycle in the right weather. you can have a good time commuting to and from work or college on a scooter or motorbike. I've been doing it for roughly a year now, and I've really been enjoying it. There were some hurdles to come over at the beginning. It is a little bit unusual essentially suiting up like Neil Armstrong before and after we work, but you get used to it, and it actually adds to the charm. Anyway, till next time, this has been just another biker.